Hey everyone, thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and just giving a macro level update on what Bitcoin is doing. If you guys like this content, please subscribe to the channel and turn your notifications on. Also check out the Telegram channel in the description below if you guys want to jump into a growing and thriving community. I'm really impressed with the conversations we have in there, and go ahead and check that out. So what we're going to start with today is we're going to look at the 20-week moving average because I've mentioned before, and I hate to just sound like a broken record, but sometimes the markets are really a lot simpler than most people make them out to be when you're looking at the macro picture. When you look at the micro picture and you try to make predictions on a daily basis, you can't really account for a lot of irrational noise in the markets, and making price predictions every single day is pretty much pointless and is not the way that I think a disciplined investor should act anyways. The idea is if you look at the larger picture of Bitcoin and look at, we've made videos where we fit, a primary logarithmic regression band, noting that these phases here are just bubbles. Then we are actually in that regression band as we speak. So the risk levels are fairly good right now. Not that this is financial advice or anything, but we've always said on this channel that 2019 and 2020 are probably the best times to accumulate Bitcoin, and clearly we could go lower than we are today. We could go higher, but if you look back if you fast forward a few years and you look back in time, I think there's a good chance that it'll become apparent that 2019 and 2020 were some of the best years to buy Bitcoin in the recent history. Just like we can look back at the last market cycle and see that 2015 and 2016 were the times to buy, and before that it was 2012. So I think this is where we are right now. These times where we're moving slowly, a lot of people get antsy and they want to see movement. But I would say patience really is a virtue, and if you look at the larger picture, you can kind of see the overall trend, and just think about how many people had their hair turn gray over these tiny moves in here that really are completely irrelevant when you look at the bigger picture. And if you turn price off and just look at the moving averages, I think it helps a lot. You can see the bigger picture. Here's the 50-week, and we are heading into the halving, and you can see that historically when we head into the halving, we tend to go parabolic afterwards. Now I think the rate at which we're going to go parabolic is it has been decreasing, and I think it'll continue to decrease, but we will be covering the halving in future videos. So again, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a video. Now, in regards to the 20 week, so we've talked about the 20-week moving average being this baseline of support during a bull market, and you can see, just say during the last bull market, you can see how we held it as support on these weekly candles, held that 20-week moving average as support. We've been talking about this for months and months and months, and how it held it as resistance during the bear market. How once it got above it in 2019, we overreacted. We kind of had a knee-jerk reaction, and Bitcoin went up 3 to 4x in a few months, and then we did not hold it as support the first time we tested it, in the same way that in the last cycle we did not hold it as support the first time we tested it. We came below it, and then we popped back above the 20-week, and now we're in the phase where we're testing the 20-week moving average again. And you can see, I had someone recently say the 20-week moving average hasn't provided any level of support for the last 2 years, so how can you use this? Well, welcome to the club, because you're right, it hasn't held support for the last 2 years, and another thing that has been true of the last 2 years is that we have not been in a bull market for the last 2 years. You can see during 2015 to 2017, early 2018, we were in a bull market, and during that time the 20-week moving average was holding as support. Now, if you go back and look, when we held the 20-week moving average as support, we didn't really move that far off of it for months at a time, and we were talking like 4 months right here before we saw another sort of a mini bubble where we shot up 1.5 to 2x before coming straight back down to the 20-week moving average. So if indeed we are about to kick off the beginning phases of a bull run, it's not going to become obvious to a lot of people. A lot of people are already bearish because instead of just moving up, if I would say if Bitcoin had just moved up like this, or something like this, then people would be bullish. But instead, it did this. Sorry about that. Instead, what it did was it came up here and then came back down. And that's why people are bearish, I think. Clearly, we might not hold it as support, but the point is that if we are holding it as support, then it could be the beginnings of the bull market, which would emulate what happened last time, because last time we were holding that 20-week moving average as support already before the halving occurred. And you can see that the halving is approaching, and if you're not familiar with the halving, approximately every 4 years or so, the number of rewards are reduced. The block rewards are cut in half, which, in theory, reduces the sell pressure on the market, and if you have a constant demand, then price must go up. Now, obviously, that's theoretical because demand doesn't always stay the same, and there's probably some miners who aren't just immediately selling all their Bitcoin, but that's the general idea behind it. Now, I won't go too much into the halving in this video because we're going to cover it in future videos, but just note that even going into this halving, we did see a short-term sell-off, but again, we always held that 20-week moving average as support. So if you're asking what I'm doing, in terms of Bitcoin, just watch the 20-week. If we drop below it, if we have weekly candles dropping below the 20-week, then we're basically saying, okay, Bitcoin is not ready yet for to really start a bull run, and we're going to kick the can down the road. If you continue to see us print weekly candles that are holding the 20-week moving average as support, like I've said, I think we're going to see confidence resume back to altcoins. I think people are going to become more bullish even on Bitcoin, and then eventually it would lead to another little micro bubble where we ultimately come back down to the 20-week. However, we've also showed that volatility over the macro scale is decreasing, so I don't think that the cyclical mini bubbles that you saw in the last market cycle, I don't think they'll be quite as extreme going into this next one. So, I would say that our target for if you want to think about this in terms of long-term moves, if our target is let's say it's somewhere out in the end of 2022 or something. Let's move this over. Sorry about that. So we're basically gonna zoom out here all the way to so we can see, say, the 2022 to 2023 time frame. And if you think about where we might be headed, let's suppose that the next peak is, let's just say it's in 2022, late 2022, early 2023, maybe even as late as, summer of 2023 or something like that. This is just speculation, of course. And let's say the price gets up to around, let's say $130,000. Let's say this is $13,000. Let's scroll this up a bit. So let's say that, let's get our brush, so we can just mark this. So let's say we go up to around, say, $130,000, and we'll put a little point there. This is in December of 2023. Let's also put a point, let's say summer of 2023. Or I guess I can only put one here. But anyways, if you were to put this point in your mind as potentially where we're headed, then your main goal, my main goal at least, this is not financial advice, but my main goal is just to accumulate as much Bitcoin I can at these levels, because this level is going to dwarf this level, and it's going to seem like a distant memory at some point. And the way that we get to that level, it could just be that we just don't really do much, and obviously we're going to oscillate around whatever trend line it is. We're not going to just go straight up or down, but as we move out, I think if we go, say, out to 2023, that time frame, if we go up here to this point, then I think we're going to be, at some point, we're going to be picking back up. And some people have asked me, well, Ben, when do you think Bitcoin is going to reach its previous all-time high of $20,000. Unfortunately, I don't really think it's going to happen in 2020. I would love it to happen in 2020, but if you remember, if you prescribe to the 4-year cycle theory, then in that sense, Bitcoin won't reach its previous all-time high until 2021, early 2021, first quarter of 2021, if it were to mimic or emulate the last market cycle. Now, the halvings don't occur exactly the same time frame, so it's not exactly 4 years, but you get the idea. We're talking about early 2021, which would mean, we would reach $20,000 sometime right here. And I, on the other hand, tend to think that the cycles are going to be lengthening, and that maybe we won't even get to $20,000 until sometime in later 2021, maybe even 2022. But again, I do hope we get there sooner, because I would like to cash in quicker. So let's just imagine that we take some take like that to the next paradigm shift, or whatever people want to call it, in the market, and you see something where we come up into a bubble phase, and then we have this final blow off top or something, and then of course all good things come to an end, and we would likely retrace and continue on our move. And if you zoom back out to something like this, kind of seems like it might make sense. It's not like I performed any level of high, complicated mathematics to draw this or anything. But if you think about it in terms of this primary logarithmic regression band, you can imagine we're staying on that band for longer and longer each time, and then the bubbles that occur are not as far away from that band each time, and that eventually, we're going to keep going up in the long term, but the peak that we're going to see diminishing returns and lengthening cycles. So this is the thesis that we're putting forth. We will be testing it, obviously, over the next several years. So I don't usually, or I should say, maybe 25% of my videos are TradingView videos. The other 75% are custom analysis, and that ranges from looking at cryptocurrencies. Most of it is cryptocurrencies. We also look at some traditional markets, like the video I posted yesterday. We've looked at gold. We've also looked at things that affect markets, like the coronavirus and its growth. So if you guys like this content, please again subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you here. We're going to be here for years and years, so we're hoping to grow a community together. Please check out the Telegram channel in the description below if you want to discuss things further. We're going on 1,900 members. And finally, if you want access to more content, then check out patreon.com/intothecryptoverse for exclusive content, like updates to the risk indicator, a lot of other macro level updates, access to intensive reports like Bitcoin letters, Ethereum letters, and altcoin letters. So check that out if you find that interesting. That'll wrap it up for this video. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.